Chapter 106. What exactly is he trying to do? In Club Excellent era, Lu Hao was in his room comfortably watching TV. Although yesterday night's encounter with Yi Shu at the internet cafe made him extremely angry, thinking of how that guy had fallen to being an internet cafe manager, Lu Hao's mood quickly turned back into delight. After driving out Yi Chu, he was still Excellent era's vice-captain, but he was now extremely pleased with his situation. Right now, he was looked highly upon by everyone in the club from top to bottom. That Sun Shang was just a newcomer. At the present time, his vice-captain position was in charge of all of the team's affairs. Moreover, that guy was only a youngster. With just a few words of flattery, he no longer knew what was going on. He just so happened to be an empty shell of a captain. Whenever something happened in the team captain was the first person to be blamed. Bad things go to you, good things go to me. What a beautiful and harmonious duo. Speaking of him, that Yi Chu really was hard to deal with. Unmoved by force or persuasion, it took him a lot of effort to get rid of him. Right when Lu Hao was dreaming of his beautiful situation, his cell phone suddenly started ringing. For such a phone call to come late at night, if it wasn't anything urgent, then no one would call him. Lu Hao grabbed his cell phone and looked. It was Excellent Dynasty's guild leader Chen Yahui. Lu Hao was also a veteran pro player and a team vice-captain. He clearly understood the importance of the in-game guild that they supported, so he had made contact with Excellent Dynasty's guild leader Chen Yahui long ago. In Glory's competitive league, characters didn't just suddenly pop up out of nowhere. No matter how strong the godlike characters were in the professional alliance, they all started with a normal account card, a normal character, and then slowly leveled up one step at a time. Clubs had their own account cards, that wasn't wrong. But the data from these account cards were all stored in the game's database just like everyone else's. The club's research and development in self-made equipment still used the game's universal equipment editor. The materials used in the research all came from in-game. With regards to the club, the guild acted a way to publicize them and also as a logistics department. Occasionally, they might even find a seedling with high potential to be a pro player. Sometimes their guild might be the weapon to attack other clubs. Every club fostered their own guild's power. For those without guilds, just talking about self-made equipment, all of the materials needed for research would have to be bought with money. Once or twice was still okay, but continuously spending money wasn't good. The owners of every club were all operating their club for profit. They were trying to make money, not continuously throw away money. Chen Yahui was Excellent Dynasty's guild leader. Although the majority of the guild members were normal players, there would definitely be players with relations to the club. No matter what perspective he was looked at, Chen Yahui could be considered a manager-level person in the club. Lu Hao grabbed his cell phone. His face showed an erratic expression. Chen Yahui treated him with an extremely respectful attitude. In his eyes, it was even a bit excessive. Although pro players could have some influence on a guild's operations, there wasn't a clear top and bottom relationship between them. More accurately, it was more like a type of alliance between these two people. But Chen Yahui's attitude towards him seemed like he was below him. This was enough to make him mull over it. This sort of attitude was very much like how he was dealing with Sun Shang. With these sort of thoughts in his heart, Lu Hao answered the phone. Lu, have you rested? I haven't yet. Did something happen? Frost Forest's clear record was broken, Chen Yahui said. What? Broken? A trace of surprise flashed across Lu Hao's face. It was just a mere dungeon record. He wasn't going to jump up all of a sudden as if it was an extreme emergency. He was surprised because even though he hadn't went all out for that record, it was still at least a record done by pro-level players. Breaking it required a certain amount of strength. Which club's pro player ran over to help? Which guild broke it? Lu Hao asked. The guild also signified the club behind them. Tyrannical ambition, Chen Yahui replied. Players from tyranny? Lu Hao was puzzled. Club Tyranny was the club behind Tyrannical Ambition. The players under Team Tyranny were the ones who had originally stopped Excellent Era from becoming league champions 4 times in a row. Team Tyranny's trump card was Han Wenking. His account Desert Dust, a striker class, was known as the King of Fighting in Glory. It was a god-level character like Battle God. Although Excellent Era and Tyranny were old enemies, they were unlikely to go as far as to bother about such a small dungeon like Frost Forest. They would specially send out pro players to break this relatively difficult record? Not likely. If it was in the heavenly domain, then they might reluctantly do it. The guild is Tyrannical Ambition, but the players that did it aren't, Chen Yahui said. What do you mean? Lu Hao didn't understand. One of the characters in the party is called Lord Grimm. This player is quite famous in the 10th server. In Beginner Village, he took 3 first kills and the previous Frost Forest record that been held for some time was set by him in Blue Brook Guild. And later, he brought a party and stole away the Bloodgunner first kill right from under the 3 great guilds' noses. He then helped Tyrannical Ambition first kill the Goblin Merchant. And right now, he helped Tyrannical Ambition set a new record in Frost Forest. In that party, 4 of the players had only temporarily joined Tyrannical Ambition. It looks like they were all Lord Grimm's helpers. Chen Yahui attached a lot of importance to pioneering in the new server. He personally directed the work there. He had snuck in spies into all of the big guilds, so he understood the general situation of all of them. Lu Hao carefully pondered over what Chen Yahui said. His expression changed greatly. So you're saying this Lord Grimm, is he Yi Chu? Chen Yahui said. Lu Hao was also thinking about this. He suddenly recalled his encounter with that guy in the internet cafe. Wasn't that Glory on his screen? Yi Chu was playing Glory that day. Did you notice his character's name? Lu Hao asked. I noticed it, but I couldn't see it too clearly. Chen Yahui expressed his regret. It's not convenient for me to go there. Don't show your face there either. Randomly find a stranger and ask him to go and look. It shouldn't be too hard to find what his character's name is, right? Lu Hao said. I've already arranged for it. Someone is going over right now, Chen Yahui said. Okay, then let's first understand the situation clearly before talking again, Lu Hao said. Wait for my call, Chen Yahui said. After hanging up the phone, how could Lu Hao be in the mood to watch TV? Yi Chu had already been driven out, but every time he heard his name, he always felt worried. Especially now that Yi Chu appeared in Glory again, he felt even more terrified. F***ck, Lu Hao got up, ran to the bathroom, and ferociously washed his face. These were just suspicions. What was there to worry about? Even if it was Yi Chu, so what? He had already retired. He'd just be playing Glory to pass his time, right? If not, then besides playing Glory, what would he do? Lu Hao kept thinking this in his heart. But he didn't know why. His mind always spiraled around what Yi Chu had said just before he left the conference room. I haven't given up all hope yet. I'll be back. Lu Hao paced about in his room, frantic and worried. After a short moment, he felt that the air in the room wasn't fresh, so he opened the window. After a short moment, he felt that he thirsty, so he went to drink some water. After a short moment, he felt that it was too hot, so he turned on the air conditioning. After tossing from side to side for a long while, his phone finally rang again. He impatiently picked it up. He's Yi Chu. That short phrase was like a splash of cold water. At once, Lu Hao forgot his pile of comforting thoughts. He quickly lost self-control. F***ck. This guy, how could he still be haunting me? It's already like this and he's still trying to fight me? I understand. He saw us that day, so he immediately thought that Excellent Dynasty's record was done by us. That's why he immediately joined Excellent Era's sworn enemy Tyranny's guild and then he broke our record. So he really knows his stuff. But isn't there something wrong with this guy's head? It's just a Frost Forest record. Does he really think I care? But if he keeps on fighting against us like this, Chen Yahui said. Don't panic. What was the time for his record? Lu Hao asked. 13 hours 5 minutes and 47 seconds, Chen Yahui said. Ha 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 ha, Lu Hao heard this and then laughed. That's nothing much. And I thought he was good. Don't worry. I'll set a new record for you immediately. We weren't focused at all last time. And that wasn't the most optimal class combination for Frost Forest last time either. Then what's the most optimal class combination? I'll pick out the accounts for you guys like last time, Chen Yahui said. No need, just last time's accounts will be fine, Lu Hao said. But last time's accounts have all already leveled past 25, Chen Yahui said. I'll look again. Right, for that party you were talking about. The 4 that just temporarily joined Tyrannical Ambition? Besides Yi Chu, who were the others? Lu Hao asked. I'm not sure who they were. One of them was called Soft Mist, a battle mage. One was called Steamed Bun Invasion, a brawler. And the other was called Cleansing Mist, a launcher, Chen Yahui said. Launcher, Lu Hao confirmed this. He had already thought of someone. Except he had no proof, so he didn't dare to be certain. As for the other 2, he had no clue. From his view, to be able to break that record meant that the helpers had to be pro-level. If not, then just relying on Yi Chu wasn't possible. Right, what is Yi Chu's class this time? Lu Hao suddenly asked. No class. No class. Level 25, no class. This guy? What exactly is he doing? Lu Hao was puzzled again. Was this guy planning on playing unspecialized? That wasn't possible. Although it was in theory possible to get past level 50 as an unspecialized, in the pro scene, it was already accepted that unspecialized characters had no value. Even excluding the burden of carrying many weapons, switching equipment had a cooldown and the confusing amount of skills. Unspecialized characters had originally been something made up by the players. It wasn't a class that Glory had set up, so there were a lot of impossible to overcome obstacles. The game company wouldn't set up any adjustments for this type of made-up class. There were no prospects at all. But, if there was someone that could play unspecialized in the Glory community, then the first name that popped up in Lu Hao's mind was the name Yi Chu. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but be uneasy. Hello? Lu, are you still there? The person on the other side of the call, Chen Yahui, asked. Yeah, I'm here, help me find an account. It'd be best if it hadn't yet joined a guild and was around level 20. The class doesn't matter, Lu Hao said. Chapter 107, Testing Staff. The Frost Forest record was once again broken. Another discussion was brought about in the game. New players didn't think nothing much of it. They didn't really understand what was so abnormal about it. But the veterans of each of the big guilds all sucked in a cold breath. This time's competition for the Frost Forest record was unprecedented. The records that came out one after another were even more ridiculous than the last. Last time's record was already the highest in all 10 servers, already making people feel that it was too high to reach. Who knew that in just a few days someone would break it again? Moreover, this record improved the time by a large amount. It seemed like there was even more space to improve too. This 10th server really is full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Besides Lord Grimm, who are those other players? Currently in a dungeon, Blue River was muttering to a player next to him. These experienced players all knew that the current record couldn't have been made with just a single great expert. It could only have been done with several great experts working together. The list of names in this time's record, besides Lord Grimm, they were all unfamiliar names. They had absolutely no idea where these players came from. Only one of them was from Tyrannical Ambition. The others were only temporary additions, Boundboat answered. They were the same as Excellent Dynasty. They had little spies in Tyrannical Ambition. This type of information was extremely easy to find. Steamed Bun Invasion? It seems like I've seen this name before, Blue River mumbled to himself. Steamed Bun Invasion's name was quite unique. Bloodgunner's first kill, Boundboat recalled. Blue River stared blankly. Didn't Lord Grimm just randomly run into those players? I thought so too. Then just like this, he just brought them and set that record. Blue River was puzzled. He really was puzzled, so he simply sent a message to Lord Grimm. Brother, congratulations. You broke the record again. There was no reply for a long time. Yi Shu was currently delivering cola to the guests. After a while, a reply popped up. Opening it, it was Herb Garden's Plantago seed. What exactly is happening? I don't really understand. It's just a Frost Forest record, that's all. How'd it become like this? Why ask me? You should be asking Tyrannical Ambition, Blue River said. I don't have him added as a friend. Plantago Seed's simple reason made Blue River at a loss for words. He closed the message and ignored it. He was only waiting for Lord Grimm's reply. After a moment, he finally received a message. Ha ha, lucky. Brother, where did those experts come from? I've never heard of them. Blue River didn't beat around the bush. Oh, they were all players I found on a short notice, Yi Shu said. They're all amazing, Blue River praised. Haha, Blue River wasn't praising him, so Yi Shu didn't make any modest remarks on behalf of them. Brother, hurry up and level. I'm waiting until you're level 27, Blue River said. Yi Shu stared blankly, but immediately recovered. This Blue River really knew how to learn from experience. Level 27, that was the highest level for Boneyard. Although players could enter this dungeon at level 23, it looked like no guild would urgently appoint for him to set a new record then. As it turned out, they were all waiting for him to get to level 27 and then get it done all at once. It appeared that everyone was afraid after seeing this record being broken again and again. Just relying on their own strength to set one didn't really matter. But by paying for Yi Shu's external help, wouldn't it be best to wait for the last moment to make the final killing blow? Haha, when the time comes, let's talk again. Yi Shu once again ended the talks. He was a bit puzzled right now. Of the three great guilds, Blue Brook Guild and Tyrannical Ambition had all looked for him several times. But that Herb Garden never contacted him. Moreover, the other big guilds could also come look for him if they needed anything too. Were they all too embarrassed to do so? Yi Shu was pondering over it when Tyrannical Ambition sent him the rewards. After several days of madly clearing Frost Forest, they had finally found the Ice Crystal Staff and 10 white wolf bristles. Cold Knight didn't go back on his word and gave them all to Lord Grimm. After the record was set, the next step was to continue leveling. That crowd lover also didn't leave the party and continued to dungeon with the four of them. In theory, they could continue to challenge the record, especially since Tangru was extremely eager and completely earnest. But Steam Bun Invasion would make a mistake every so often, so breaking the record again was already like fleeting clouds. Yi Shu let out a sigh. He found that having Steam Bun Invasion wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Honestly speaking, he was tired. In this dungeon, he had to invest far more energy than the four of them combined together. From teaching them in the beginning to madly leveling for himself to helping Tangru level to bringing Su Mucheng to level, he basically had no free time. Just then, in those 10 minutes in the dungeon, he had to lead, pay attention to everyone's playing, and control the most amount of monsters. It was all extremely taxing on his mind and body. Right now, he just wanted to casually play and relax. After Steam Bun Invasion made a mistake, everyone relaxed. They didn't need to pursue the greatest efficiency and casually chatted while playing. Crowd Lover was still not crowd loving and didn't have much to say. Of course, no one knew that this guy was currently talking with Cold Knight. Soft Mist and Steam Bun Invasion. These two are new players. Tyrannical Ambition's guild leader Zhang Yu, who was currently using Crowd Lover, was one of Glory's old generals. After observing them for 2 days, he was quite confident in his judgment. New players? Yeah, but they have a good foundation. After learning for a bit, they'll quickly become experts, Zhang Yu said. And the other two? Lord Grimm. This player has skill, tactics, knowledge, and experience, but to say how strong he is exactly. Frost Forest is only such, so I can't really tell. It's very likely that he's at a pro level. But hearing you, it seems like this person is online for a long time every day. Pro players shouldn't have so much time to play on a low-leveled account, right? GNU said. Could it be a just recently retired pro player? Cold Knight heard the guild leader's analysis and could only think of one such person. Are you talking about God Yi Chu? If it really is him, then I'd really be honored. But there is one thing that I'm not sure whether you've noticed or not, Zhang Yu said. What? His weapon. Weapon? Yeah, I've paid attention to it for these several days. When he fights, he doesn't ever switch weapons, rather that weapon of his can change forms at any time. Right now, the ones I've noticed are battle lance, sword, gun, these three forms, Zhang Yu said. How can there be such a weapon? That's why I'm saying that it must be self-made. That's why I'm thinking that this person could likely be someone from a club testing a silver weapon, Zhang Yu said. Oh, Cold Knight almost couldn't respond. Talents flourished in a pro club. Even if they were researchers, their skill levels in glory were all extremely high. Among them, some were former pro players that stayed after retiring. Some of them weren't at a pro player level, but their theory crafting was considerably solid. These people might not be as good as pro players, but in the game, they were more than enough to easily beat the content, especially at the current low-leveled stage. This sort of transforming silver weapon is something I've never seen before. That's why I think he's testing to see whether it can be used practically. He's using it right now, which means that this weapon is at most level 25. If this weapon's practical value is limited, then they obviously won't spend the time to continue waste their energy, financial resources, physical resources, and continue to research how to upgrade it, Zhang Yu said. Then it's no surprise that this guy hasn't changed classes, Cold Knight said. This weapon, looking at it from its design, truly is specially made for unspecialized players to use, Zhang Yu said. Because he's testing the weapon, he needs to try it out with different types of parties. Challenging records and so on are all just for testing this weapon's might. Cold Knight was very satisfied with his judgment. But, in the new server, there aren't too many materials. How did he make it in the beginning? I can't understand this point. Cold Knight said. He transferred from the old server, Zhang Yu said. How can you carry a weapon and transfer? Cold Knight didn't understand. Only level 1 blank accounts can transfer to a new server. Self-made equipment can be stored in the equipment editor. It doesn't count as an item on you, Zhang Yu said. As a guild leader of a big guild, he could also be considered a club member, so he was a bit more experienced and knowledgeable. How could normal players have access to self-made equipment? Of course they wouldn't know about how they worked. So it's like this, Cold Knight said, then like this. The reason he's crazily demanding for materials is probably for this silver weapon. These things I'm not too sure about. Zhang Yu was helpless. If he could make self-made equipment, then he would be a technical talent. Right now as a guild leader, he was more of a manager talent. In short, keep paying attention to him. If he really has this sort of background, then don't waste your time trying to rope him in, Zhang Yu said. Okay, Cold Knight didn't say anything more. The two stopped messaging each other for a while. Zhang Yu was currently dungeoning with the party, when Cold Knight suddenly whispered to him, you still haven't talked about the last one? That one called what is it, Su Mucheng's name, which came from a verse, Cleansing Mist, TLN, equals Feng Shu Yan Mu, really was weird. It was far harder than Steamed Bun Invasion, TLN, equals Bao Ziru Qin, which was quite catchy. Oh, this person's just okay. Just before, she accidentally did a delivery gun. That scared me. But besides that, her playing was just average. She was just a steady player that didn't make any mistakes. Should we rope her in? This person is probably someone who was temporarily found a substitute in. It looks like she's very close to Lord Grimm, so it's quite probable that you won't be able to rope her in. In short, first pay attention to Soft Mist and Steamed Bun Invasion, these two important players. These two have overwhelming potential. They're also new players, so Lord Grimm probably found them in the game. Try your best to fight for them, Zhang Yu instructed. Okay, I understand. The two closed the messages. Zhang Yu used Crowd Lover and followed the four players to finish clearing Frost Forest and Boneyard. After carefully observing them, he saw that those four looked the same as before. So he was confident that he didn't make an error of judgment. After they finished clearing the dungeons, Zhang Yu said goodbye. Su Mucheng also went to rest. Steamed Bun Invasion hadn't went to the arena to bully other players and show off his strength for an entire day, so he ran off to bully others. The remaining two, Yi Shu and Tang Ru, went to a leveling area and silently leveled. Meanwhile on Club Excellent Era's side, Chen Yuhui finally found suitable account cards for Lu Hao and his party and sent them to him that very night. In the 10th server, Excellent Dynasty was personally managed by him, so finding an account was much easier compared to the three great guilds. Yi Chu, I'll let you see my strength, Lu Hao called for manpower. He malevolently sat in front of a computer. Bringing his party, he rushed into Frost Forest. This time, he went all out without a trace of negligence. After a short moment, another system announcement popped up in the 10th server. Excellent Dynasty had broken the Frost Forest record, time, 12 hours 55 minutes and 42 seconds. Chapter 108, Hateful Sword. In the eyes of players, the limit had already been reached for the record long ago. Yet it had unexpectedly been broken once again. What exactly was going on in the 10th server's Frost Forest dungeon? Was the dungeon so rich in beauty that it attracted countless heroes to bow in homage? The day had just begun. The drowsy night players, who had stayed up at night, saw this system announcement and all re-energized all of a sudden. They discussed and gossiped. All of the guild channels were now even more lively than they were at prime time 8 p.m. An all-out fight. It's an all-out fight. Blue Brook Guild's Mount Flower Lantern sighed heavily with sorrow. Aren't these two Tyranny and Excellent Era? These two clubs have always been mortal enemies. They've even come to the new server to fight. But this record is too frightening. Lord Grimm, we'll let him pass. We've all seen his strength before. But who does Excellent Dynasty have? Where did all of these experts come from? Blue River was puzzled. The 5 characters that set the record this time are completely different from the ones who set the record last time. Bound Boat looked at the leaderboards. The first and third place on the leaderboards for Frost Forest were set by parties from Excellent Dynasty, pressing down on tyrannical ambition from both sides. It looks like they have people substituting in. They're just using Excellent Dynasty's accounts, Blue River said. Clearly, Bound Boat said. Hee, I wonder how things are going for tyrannical ambition. Are they going to invite Lord Grimm again? Blue River's smile was a little dark. Of course he knew of Lord Grimm's costly demands. For tyrannical ambition to keep on hiring him again and again made Blue River feel good in his heart. He clearly wasn't the only one that felt good. Plantago Seed sent a message, how great. Yep, Blue River said happily. It was rare for both of them to feel happy together. These two guilds are going to go at each other now, right? Plantago Seed said. I'm not sure about that. But Excellent Dynasty hasn't made any big movements for a long time now, Blue River said. Excellent Era has just recently had a roster swap and re-established themselves. Their guild also wants to raise their prestige. And it just so happened that they began by attacking their rivals guild in the new server. There isn't anything to doubt, right? Plantago Seed said. Does Excellent Dynasty have this strength? F*CK, can't you see it? They have help from the experts behind them. Can you set a record like this? Plantago Seed said. Blue River didn't utter another word. He had no choice but to concede. The current Frost Forest record had already far exceeded what was possible for normal experts like them. Who was subbing in at Excellent Dynasty? Blue River guessed. Was it possible that Excellent Era sent their pro players to set a record for this lowest level dungeon? They shouldn't go that far, right? While each of the guilds were randomly guessing and thinking, Tyrannical Ambition's guild channel was filled with resentment. F*CKERS, did they really need to go so far? So competitive? Cold Knight was dumbstruck. This dungeon really made him thin and pallid. No one in the guild uttered a word. No one knew what to say. The dungeon record had originally been something that was broken again and again. But this time, they all felt that something weird was going on. The sun hadn't even come out yet. And yet a new record had already been set again. Excellent Dynasty's players really were impatient. It was just a Frost Forest record, did they need to fight for their lives like this? Look for Lord Grimm again? Someone asked. Those with insight knew that they definitely wouldn't be able to do it themselves. Cold Knight had no words. This type of record setting back and forth wasn't the way. He didn't know how Excellent Dynasty had set theirs, but he had paid a lot of items to get Lord Grimm to do it. This sort of competition clearly wasn't worth it. But if they didn't fight, the players in all of the servers would see that they had been pushed down. They would lose a lot of face. If this sort of loss was because of a different guild, then they could still endure it. But unfortunately, the loss was because of Excellent Dynasty. In the Glory community, who didn't know that Excellent Era and Tyranny were sworn enemies? The rivalry had even invaded into the game, where Excellent Dynasty and Tyrannical Ambition were also enemies. For experienced veterans in the guild like Cold Knight, they'd be angry towards Excellent Dynasty even if there was nothing to be angry about. And now that Excellent Dynasty had stepped on their record, he felt extremely terrible. Cold Knight impatiently paced about for a moment. In the end, he went offline. He was planning on looking for Zhang Yu to ask him what exactly he should do. He was already at a loss. On Excellent Dynasty's side, the players were obviously feeling the exact opposite of Tyrannical Ambition. Though their situation at midnight was extremely similar to the current Tyrannical Ambition. At that time, Excellent Dynasty's record had been broken. Not only that, it had also been broken by their sworn enemy Tyrannical Ambition, making the guild's veterans extremely furious like how Cold Knight was currently. Each and every one of Excellent Dynasty's players believed that Tyrannical Ambition hadn't relied on their own skills to do it. Instead, they looked for outsiders to substitute in for them, so they all unreservedly despised them. Although they despised them, they were also helpless. They were already at wit's end towards the record. The glorious heroes that had set it last time had already leveled past 25. Excellent Dynasty's dungeon record had been done by Lu Hao and the others substituting in. Of course, this matter couldn't be known by the guild. Even the owners of those accounts only knew that the guild leader had taken their account cards to look for experts to play on them. They could only guess who those experts were, but they didn't dare be certain. Excellent Dynasty's players cursed at Tyrannical Ambition as well as Lord Grimm practically all night. Who knew that at this moment, the dungeon record was once again set back by their players? That sort of feeling was as if pie had fallen from the sky. However, the 5 characters that had set the record this time were small characters and the achievements this time were even more ridiculous. So everyone now knew that they had originally found players to substitute in for them too. The players that had previously looked down on Tyrannical Ambition for looking for players to substitute in for them all seemed to have forgotten about it. How could it be the time to talk about that sort of disappointing topic right now? Everyone praised those 5 heroes. Although everyone knew that they weren't the original owners, they all tacitly understood that they wouldn't talk about it. They only praised unreservedly, hoping that the experts hidden behind their screens would see it. HMPH, Lu Hao saw these overflowing beautiful words that filled the screen and coldly laughed. It was just a Frost Forest record and nothing more. He wouldn't go so far as to be proud of himself just because of this. However, he was feeling extremely good, though that was because he knew who his opponent was. He knew whose record he had broken. The current him felt as if he had stepped on Yi Chu. How great! Lu Hao enjoyed this sort of feeling. The feeling he had right now was even more intense than when he had kicked Yi Chu out of the club. His face was filled with disdain and pride. It seemed as if he were seeing Yi Chu, with a face full of terror, prostrating on the ground under his feet. Thanks for your trouble, Lu. At this moment, Chen Yahui sent a message to him. It was nothing. It was a piece of cake. Lu Hao was about to reply like this. He hadn't yet sent the message when he saw that he was so happy that he was dancing around in joy. Right. Stepping on Yi Chu was a piece of cake. I reckon that Yi Chu is helpless against this current record, Chen Yahui message. I actually hope that he'll try it again. Lu Hao felt as lofty as a king looking down on all of the lands under the heaven, all because of this Frost Forest record. Ha ha, he's actually still online. But he might not have any dungeon entries left right now, Chen Yahui said. Oh, really? Lu Hao's eyes turned. He immediately logged out of the character he was currently using and then found the account card, with a random level 20 character, that Chen Yahui had given him. He swiped the card and entered the game. This character was level 24, his name was Hateful Sword, a berserker. Lu Hao was most proficient with spellblades. Although they were both swordsman classes, their styles were completely different. However, as a pro player, Lu Hao obviously wasn't completely clueless towards other classes. Just relying on his knowledge and mechanical skill, he would still be better than normal players by a lot. Hateful Sword had no guild because it was obvious what Lu Hao was planning on doing with this account. That was why Chen Yahui specially found an account for him that was originally going to be a spy for their guild. Lu Hao quickly scanned Hateful Sword and was quite satisfied. He immediately searched for a player name. Lord Grimm. Sure enough, he was online. Lu Hao promptly sent a friend invite, but didn't get a response. Loser, 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 Lu Hao cursed while sending more invites. The system prompt finally arrived. Lord Grimm accepted the friend invite. I would have blown you up if you didn't accept, Lu Hao muttered arrogantly. Even such a small matter like being added as a friend made him feel extremely victorious. This was because the other side was Yi Chu. Any sort of interaction between Yi Chu and himself was a fight in his eyes. You wanted to ignore me. Yet you even added me as a friend. You lose, Yi Chu. Hi God, Lu Hao sent a common greeting and then began racking his brains on what he should say next to obtain Yi Chu's trust. Hi, you are, Yi Chu replied. I'm your father, Lu Hao said to himself and replied, do you have an open spot in your party? Party? I'm not in any party, Yi Chu said. F***CKER, putting on an act. The other side wouldn't hear him anyways. Lu Hao might as well curse while typing. I saw that you're always setting dungeon records. You don't have a set party? Oh, that. No I don't. Those were all just temporary members, Yi Chu said. Really? Then can you bring me along? I'm pretty skilled, Lu Hao said. Okay, then when there's a chance, I'll whisper to you, Yi Chu said. F***CK, you're trying to trick me. Lu Hao felt that Yi Chu was definitely saying it half-heartedly, so he didn't give up. Are you free? Let's compare notes. Compare notes, huh? Then I'll introduce someone to you. He's quite good. He's called Steamed Bun Invasion. You should go look for him to play with, Yi Chu said. B** starred. Sending me to your underling. How dare you act like that? Lu Hao was furious. He sent a message over, okay, then I'll go look for him to play with. Soon after, he cursed while adding Steamed Bun Invasion as a friend, showing his intent. Ha ha, do you want to challenge me? You're pretty brave, Steamed Bun Invasion replied. F***CK, so the underlings imitate their boss. How pretentious. Even the underlings are so flashy. Steamed Bun Invasion made Lu Hao feel extremely angry, but he had to act as if it was nothing and replied, ha ha, then let me try you. Okay, come here. Let me see if you have any qualifications to challenge me, Steamed Bun Invasion said. F***CKER. I'll beat you into a crushed steamed bun. In his anger, Lu Hao immediately made Hateful Sword rush to the arena. Level or free, Lu Hao messaged Steamed Bun Invasion. Oh, Steamed Bun Invasion replied. I'm asking you level or free. Lu Hao's 10 fingers almost broke the keyboard. After a long time, Steamed Bun Invasion asked, what does that mean? Chapter 109, A Directed Act. Lu Hao's keyboard really did break. This smash was too ferocious and had broken the keyboard into a slope. Lu Hao was unable to deal with so much. After laying flat the keyboard, he grinded his teeth while typing. I'm asking you, same level matches or free for all matches? Oh, that. You should say things more clearly. Free for all matches, Steamed Bun Invasion said. What room number? Lu Hao entered the free field and was about to howl. You create one. I'll come look for you in a bit. Steamed Bun Invasion was currently fighting someone. As a result, Lu Hao created a room. After setting up a password, he sent the room number and password to Steamed Bun Invasion. A short moment later, Steamed Bun Invasion finally appeared in Lu Hao's created room. Ready, 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 Lu Hao madly urged. Right when Steamed Bun Invasion clicked ready, he entered the field the next second. Lu Hao chose the smallest map. There was no place to hide. After both characters joined the map, they each took one side of the arena. The announcer counted down, 3, 2, 1. Lu Hao didn't say anything further and wildly hammered his keyboard and mouse. Hateful Sword lifted his greatsword and rushed forward. The map was small, so the distance between both sides wasn't far. In only a few steps, he closed in. Across, Steamed Bun Invasion was applying poison to his weapon. How could Lu Hao wait for him to finish? He quickly moved his hands and Hateful Sword dashed up. A max range, max damage, max shockwave collapsing mountain chopped forward. This sort of usage of collapsing mountain actually had a lot of holes. When normal experts used it, they wouldn't stretch collapsing mountain to its limit. But right now, Lu Hao had been restrained for such a long time. If he didn't show off his terrifying strength, he would cough up blood. Lu Hao originally thought that Steamed Bun Invasion would get out of the way, so he had already calculated his following move. Who knew that the other side would just foolishly stand there without moving? Seeing that the greatsword was about to hit him, Steamed Bun Invasion suddenly leapt backwards. This leap was executed excellently. The greatsword tip nearly swiped his nose. Right when Steamed Bun Invasion landed, he immediately jumped forward as if he were sending himself back into the sword's path. But with a look, Lu Hao knew that the situation wasn't good. After Steamed Bun Invasion leapt backwards to dodge the chop, he jumped forward to dodge collapsing mountains following shock wave. In addition, this jump had closed enough distance for him to attack Hateful Sword. And because Lu Hao stretched collapsing mountain too far, he recovered too slowly and had no way of dodging Steamed Bun Invasion's attack. Just as expected, it was too late to withdraw and the greatsword crashed onto the ground. Steamed Bun Invasion stretched out his hand and accurately grabbed onto Hateful Sword's throat. He used the skill, Strangle, that had been used brilliantly in the dungeon this night. Immediately afterwards, his other hand flipped over and a brick smashed onto Hateful Sword's forehead. Lu Hao was enraged to the limit. The keyboard and mouse were struck as if he was trying to break them. After he withdrew his collapsing mountain, he used a backslash. Backslash was a berserker's most basic skill. It was the same as a battle mage's Sky Strike and a blade master's upward slash knock-up skills. Although the effects were similar, a berserker's backslash did the most damage and had the strongest knock-up effect among all of the knock-up skills. Lu Hao's execution was accurate and fierce. Steamed Bun Invasion wasn't able to dodge it in time and was slashed up into the air by the greatsword. If this backslash had completely hit, then Steamed Bun Invasion would have basically become like a kite. But Lu Hao had made Hateful Sword stop mid-slash. He then leapt backwards and both hands lifted the greatsword to his chest. A colliding stab charged forward and thrust at the mid-air Steamed Bun Invasion's stomach. Hateful Sword swiftly rushed up, was pushed into AV path in mid-air and his butt directly smashed into the arena's ropes. Lu Hao was just about to let Hateful Sword continue attacking when he saw that Steamed Bun Invasion, whose body had been smashed into shattered shrimp shells, suddenly lift his hands and throw. A handful of fine sand flew towards Hateful Sword's face. Lu Hao was startled. He didn't think that this rotten steamed bun would actually counter with a sand toss in this situation. He immediately made Hateful Sword roll to the side. Although he had been hit by quite a bit of sand, he at least avoided the blind status. Flipping over, Steamed Bun Invasion rushed forward to Hateful Sword's back. His two hands grabbed onto Hateful Sword's shoulder and used a knee attack. Right when the knee attack hit Hateful Sword's waist, he let go of his hands and Hateful Sword couldn't help but stagger forward a few steps. This was a hidden effect that was triggered when knee attack hit the back. Steamed Bun Invasion didn't stop. He ran forward holding onto a brick and was about to smash it onto the back of Hateful Sword's head, when Hateful Sword suddenly leapt forward. But his body turned in midair and a swordlight slashed down right in front of Steamed Bun's face. It was unexpectedly a collapsing mountain. Steamed Bun Invasion hadn't anticipated this. In the past few days, he had often soaked in the arena and had fought against every class several times, so he had experienced all of these low-leveled skills. That was why he had been able to perform the back leap into the forward leap to dodge collapsing mountain. But Lu Hao had unexpectedly used it while jumping backwards. This was a move that Steamed Bun Invasion had never seen before. This was because a backwards collapsing mountain was extremely complicated. Normal players didn't have the ability to use it, so of course Steamed Bun Invasion had never seen it before. At this moment, meeting a pro player Lu Hao, although the Berserker wasn't his most proficient class, using this sort of move wasn't difficult. However, because it was executed during a backwards leap, the backwards collapsing mountain couldn't be completed. This move wasn't to send an attack. It was to defend against the opponent's pursuit. Only because Steamed Bun Invasion didn't know of such a move was the sword able to hit him. The two players fought back and forth, and after a few bouts, Lu Hao had gradually calmed down. He had always been a reserved and scheming guy. Previously, he had been in such a state of excitement because he had successfully stepped on Yi Shu's record. He had also been provoked by the noob Steamed Bun Invasion's words and had wanted to beat Steamed Bun Invasion into a pulp. Now that he had calmed down, he definitely knew that he couldn't continue fighting in the same way. Steamed Bun Invasion's skill truly wasn't bad. Among normal players, he could be considered a rare expert. Even so, he hadn't yet beaten Lu Hao. And if they continued to fight like this, then his hateful sword would for certain obtain victory. But after calming down and thinking for a bit, he felt that he shouldn't win. This Steamed Bun Invasion was already extremely strong. Those that could beat him were players that were almost at a pro level. Lu Hao was afraid that if he revealed too much of his strength, then he would arouse Yi Chu's suspicions. If he just barely lost to this Steamed Bun Invasion, then he would prove that his strength wasn't ordinary without arousing Yi Chu's suspicions. Lu Hao immediately decided on following this plan. He began to fight without fully exerting himself and showed openings. Steamed Bun Invasion really was an expert and immediately took advantage of these holes. Lu Hao didn't want to be beaten too easily, so he tangled with him once again. In this way, the two looked as if they were locked in a difficult battle. Lu Hao knew that his hateful sword was slowly walking towards the losing path. The situation had been grasped. In the end, hateful sword lost to Steamed Bun Invasion. Lu Hao sinisterly smiled. He pretended to not accept the outcome and once again challenged Steamed Bun Invasion. Steamed Bun Invasion happily took up the challenge and the two players fought again. Lu Hao continued his performance and slowly walked towards the losing path. In this way, they fought a total of 5 rounds. Hateful sword lost to Steamed Bun Invasion every time. Steamed Bun Invasion appeared extremely mighty. However, the situation had been completely under Lu Hao's control the entire time. After the 5 rounds were over, Lu Hao left the room and sent Steamed Bun Invasion a "I'm going to rest a bit." Immediately afterwards, he sent Yi Shu a message, "God, that Steamed Bun is really strong. I couldn't beat him." "Ha ha, I heard him talk about it. He said that you weren't his opponent at all," Yi Shu replied. Lu Hao was furious. This rotten Steamed Bun, he wasn't honest at all. Although he had lost all 5 rounds, how could he use "not his opponent at all" to describe it? He had only just barely won 5 times. In addition, the situation had been completely under his control. He had originally wanted Steamed Bun to tell Yi Chu of his strength so that Yi Chu would more easily believe it. Who knew that this stinky Steamed Bun had no sense of shame and had actually ignored the important details? If he had known of this, then he would directed a "I barely beat Steamed Bun" outcome and then directly went to look for Yi Chu. I feel our skill levels are quite close. His luck today was a bit better. Lu Hao could only explain it while feeling furious. "Ha ha, he's still waiting in the arena for you. You guys should continue playing," Yi Shu replied. Lu Hao wanted to cry but had no tears. He had only wanted to put on an act with that Steamed Bun. Who actually wanted to continue playing with that rotten Steamed Bun? So he immediately replied, "I'm not that good at peeking, but I really am very good at clearing dungeons. God, when are you going to bring me to set a record?" "Right now there isn't anything to set," Yi Shu replied. "Really? But I saw that in the early morning, the record that you had set in Frost Forest just before had been broken. You're not going to get it back?" Lu Hao asked. "Oh, that? Maybe later," Yi Shu replied. He, because you can't get it back." Lu Hao felt good again and continued to act. "Then God, what are you doing now? Bring me with you. I'm leveling in Boneyard. If you want to come level, then you should come over too." "Okay," Lu Hao replied and then let out a sigh of relief. He finally succeeded in getting close to this guy's side. This time, he'd figure out what exactly that guy was planning on doing in the new server. Lu Hao asked for the coordinates and then immediately ran towards Boneyard. When he reached the location, he looked around. He saw a male and a female, 2 characters. They were both carrying battle lances and clearing monsters. Among them, the female character had magical ripples flashing under her feet. It was clearly a chaser, the battle mage's signature skill. And even though that male character used battle mage skills, he had no chasers. He was precisely Lord Grimm, an unspecialized character acting as a battle mage. Hello. Taking advantage of the fact that they were still far away, Lu Hao tested his voice and found a pitch that was different from his own voice. After experimenting a few times, plus considering that there would also be some distortion when he talked, Lu Hao felt that Yi Shu definitely wouldn't be able to tell it was his voice. He then calmly and composedly moved Hateful Sword forward. God, Lu Hao went up and greeted. He was a bit nervous in his heart. You've come. After replying, a party invite was sent to him. Lu Hao accepted and then joined the party. Remaining calm and collected, he laughed evilly. Chapter 110, Waiting and Seeing. Of the two players in the party, one was Lord Grimm and the other was Soft Mist. Although the two were in a party, they each fought their own monsters. There was no teamwork or coordination. After Hateful Sword joined the party, the two greeted him and then continued on with their own business. Once Lu Hao began killing monsters, three players were now minding their own business. No one went up to fight together with him. In the end, Lu Hao could only hack at monsters alone. What made him even more depressed was when the other two players fought monsters, none of them talked. Although Lu Hao had disguised his voice, he still didn't dare to talk too much. He had originally been pretty happy when he saw that Yi Chu was leveling with someone else. He felt that by listening in on their conversations, he could perhaps obtain information he wanted. Who knew that besides a hi after meeting each other, he wouldn't hear another word. After fighting for a bit, Lu Hao was unable to bear his depression. If he knew that these two wouldn't talk, then he would have been a bit more active when he came. If he suddenly asked around after being so quiet for so long, would he appear suspicious? Thinking like this, Lu Hao could only stay quiet. From time to time, he would pay attention to these two players' circumstances. Gradually, he found that something was somewhat abnormal. Lord Grimm's attack was really high. All in all, Lu Hao was a pro-level player. He had this sort of basic ability to judge. Lord Grimm wasn't a true battle mage, but when he used battle mage skills, his damage output was even greater than Soft Mist's. Lu Hao had also put that Soft Mist in his eyes. Her hand speed was quite fast, so the difference in damage between Lord Grimm and her shouldn't be from hand speed or technique. As a result, he only had one explanation: Lord Grimm's equipment was stronger. A better weapon would obviously raise the attack. Although Lu Hao was a pro player, he couldn't recognize this level 25 weapon. If it was a Spellblade type weapon, then he might have been able to. But he completely didn't recognize the white-tipped battle lance that Lord Grimm had in his hand. After noticing the issue of damage output, Lu Hao also began paying attention to his hand speed. He wanted to keep up the same tempo as Lord Grimm and then use the amount of damage done to monsters done by both sides in order to calculate Lord Grimm's damage. Although the two were of different classes, to a pro player, this sort of judgment was doable. In the end, it made Lu Hao shocked. He had originally thought that Lord Grimm's weapon might have been an orange weapon. But by seeing its damage output, it seemed to be even better than an orange weapon. It seemed like a level 25 silver weapon? Lu Hao didn't want to believe it. He once again made Hateful Sword keep the same tempo as Lord Grimm for a while, but this was the only decision he could make. Moreover, it became more and more certain. Such a distinct difference in damage couldn't be made by the other small equipment on his body. It could only be because of the difference in weapons. Silver weapon. This guy actually had a silver weapon. The new server had just started a few days ago and this guy already had a silver weapon? What silver weapon is this? Could it be the Battle Lance Evil Annihilation? It doesn't look like it. Lu had obviously seen the Battle God 1 Autumn Leaf silver weapon Evil Annihilation many times. It was completely different from Lord Grimm's weapon. Moreover, even if Evil Annihilation was Yi Chu's, it didn't mean that he could make it. Self-made equipment were the top secret information in the club. This guy, could it be that he really hasn't given up? If he's really planning on returning to the pro scene, then he's going to use this account and this silver weapon? After knowing that the weapon in Lord Grimm's hand was a silver weapon, Lu Hao thought like this. As a result, he began to be more cautious. He decided that it's be best to lay low until he fully understood what exactly Yi Chu was planning on doing. The three players continued to silently fight monsters. The day gradually began to brighten. After Lu Hao got over his previous excitement, he began to feel tired. He didn't have a habit of pulling all-nighters. Today, he had thoroughly endured the night. He now began to repeatedly yawn. But those two players didn't seem to show that they were going to stop. He could only clench his teeth and persevere. He was afraid that if he left early, he might miss any news. At 7 in the morning, Yi Chu suddenly went offline without any warning. Lu Hao stared blankly and was happy in his heart, he could finally rest. But in the end, before he had even finished killing off the remaining monsters, Lord Grimm suddenly went back online and continued to fight silently. F***CK, how long are these two going to play? With red eyes, Lu Hao struggled to hang on. 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock. The two didn't appear to have any intention of stopping. But even worse, these two still didn't say anything. They just fought monsters like robots as if they never got bored of it. 11 o'clock, they still continued to fight monsters, when Hateful Sword suddenly stopped moving. Yi Shu and Tangru hadn't noticed in the beginning. After finding out, they immediately went to fend off the monsters surrounding him. While they protected him, they still didn't see any movement from him. Where'd he go? Tangru said. I don't know, he probably had something to do, Yi Shu said. Oh. It was just a small matter. The two didn't really care and continued to level. After quite a while, Hateful Sword began moving a bit and struggled to fight against a few monsters. He's back, Tangru said. Yeah, Yi Shu replied. It was still just a small matter. The two didn't really care and still continued to level. Lu Hao was in extreme suffering. He had actually fallen asleep at his chair. If he hadn't almost slipped off the chair onto the ground, who knew when he'd have woken up? He struggled to fight for a bit more until he could no longer persevere any longer. God, you guys keep playing. I'm going to go rest first, Lu Hao said. Oh, okay. When are you usually online? Lu Hao asked. All night, Yi Shu said. F***CK. Lu Hao almost cursed it out loud. Is he trying to kill me? Being a pro player was also a job. Every day, there were a lot of daily drills that he had to do, more so as the team captain. How could he have the ability to pull all-nighters every day? Lu Hao cursed inwardly. He could only say, I don't have the chance to pull all-nighters often. But if there's a dungeon, then you have to call me. Okay, Yi Shu replied. From start to finish, this guy seemed as if he never spoke more than 5 words. Lu Hao didn't understand what type of plight he was in right now. He was too King sleepy, his ability to think had already declined. After hastily logging out of the game, he climbed straight to bed. Right when he took off his clothing, he heard a knock. Brother Hao, are you there? The boss wants to talk to you. I'm coming. Lu Hao's cheeks streamed with tears. He put his clothing back on and struggled out of bed. At the Happy Internet Cafe, Yi Shu planned on leveling until 12 o'clock before he went to sleep. Tang Ru had the morning shift today. She continued to keep watch at the reception desk, working while playing. Chen Guo stood on the side with a sinister face. These two people, after saying, I'm aware of my situation, immediately went to play even more crazily all day and night. Did you guys break any record? Chen Guo asked. Yeah, Yi Shu said. But someone took it back this morning, Tang Ru added. Are you all still going to set records again and again? Chen Guo asked. Waiting and seeing. After saying this, Yi Shu went to sleep. When night came, Yi Shu got up and went back to playing the game. Excellent Dynasty still held the Frost Forest record. No other guild went to go look for Lord Grimm. Clearly, everyone had had enough of this dungeon. If they could rely on their own strength to beat the record, then it'd be fine. But if they had to always pay and look for people to substitute in for them, then their gains didn't make up for their losses. In comparison, Boneyard's record had continued to be broken in these past few days. It was just that in the eye-catching whirlpool of the Frost Forest records, it was mostly overlooked by everyone. Now, the players of each of the big guilds were now level 27, the highest level for Boneyard. Although level 27 wasn't like level 25, where there were new skills and equipment that could make a qualitative leap, in the sort of fight over a few seconds of time for a record, a single level was enough to create a difference. Currently, in Boneyard, a level 27 party had set a fairly impressive record, which had been retained for quite a while. But Tyrannical Ambition, which had set that record, weren't happy. This was because they knew that they wouldn't be able to hold on to this record for long. Lord Grimm? Or maybe the substituted in players from Excellent Dynasty? They could break the record at any time. Tyrannical Ambition obviously couldn't defend against Excellent Dynasty. Lord Grimm, on the other hand, Cold Knight was watching attentively to his level. Except, the current record was held by their Tyrannical Ambition. If they bought Lord Grimm to break the record, wasn't it a bit wrong? Cold Knight was a little hesitant. He thought whether or not to let it go and let other guilds set it first and then hire him. But the other guilds would also go and invite Lord Grimm. For Lord Grimm to set a new record and then invite Lord Grimm to break it? This was kind of forcing him to do something. Unless this guy was despicable and sinister and intentionally leaving some space for the record. But anyone with a brain knew that he definitely wouldn't deliberately do such a thing. This behavior was destroy his reputation. In addition, to help someone clear a record and then helping another set a new record, this sort of method would make others despise him. This guy probably wouldn't do such a thing, right? This didn't need to be guessed. When the time came, he just had to ask. It was still too early. Cold Knight looked at Lord Grimm in his friends list. He was still level 25. Yishu also knew that until he reached level 27, no guild would hire him to set a new record. As a result, he could only level. When it was almost midnight and the dungeon entries were about to refresh, as usual, Seven Fields asked him if he wanted to dungeon with them. Yishu naturally wouldn't decline. He was just leveling, that's all, he didn't need to pick players. Seven Fields was once again with just him and Sleeping Moon. Once Drifting Water and Sunset Clouds had been active for the 2 days after the new server started, they stopped appearing in the early mornings. Steamed Bun said that he's in the arena and won't come for now, Seven Fields said. Oh, Yishu answered. He had also received the message. Dungeon. This was sent to Su Mucheng. Are you going to dungeon? This was asking Tang Ru. After the two agreed, the two arrived shortly. And the 5-player party was created. Seven Fields asked, Brother Expert, can we set a record? We can try. Yishu saw that the current record for Boneyard was 25 hours 14 minutes and 32 seconds, Tyrannical Ambitions. Right now, this party had 2 pro-level players, him and Su Mucheng, and a player with a pro-level hand speed, Tang Ru. Adding in Seven Fields and Sleeping Moon, 2 experienced players, this party wasn't the best, but it was still possible to beat a record set by normal players. After all, level 25 and level 27 didn't have any big difference in equipment or skills. Just as they were waiting for midnight to arrive, Yishu suddenly received a message. He looked. It was that new friend Hateful Sword from the other day. God, are you dungeoning? So sorry, I'm in a party already. Add me. It's full. FCK. Lu Hao wanted to eat his computer.